Good morning, all of you. Welcome back to the course on cryptography and system security. So, in the last session, we discussed about a digital signature standard, that is Elgamal Digital Signature Standard. Right? So, when we talk about this, any digital signature, say this digital signature always used for an authentication. And you all knowing about what is meant by authentication. Authentication is the process through which a user will be identified whether he is a claimed to be a person. If I am claiming that I am an authenticated person, right, by means of that can be claimed by showing any ID proofs or any valid identity or maybe any documents. Based on the documents, right, my authentication can be verified, right. So apart from that, this digital signature, when we talk about this, any digital signature which uses a public key cryptography technique, when we talk about the public key cryptography, where both the users they will have the pair of keys. One is public key, the other one is private key. Out of that, whatever the data want to transcend, right? So this data has to be encrypted using private key of a sender. Suppose A is the sender, and you will encrypt the data using by its own private key, and it will get into the ciphertext. The ciphertext will be transmitted to the receiver. Receiver will receive the ciphertext, and he will do the decryption. And in order to do the decryption, and he will use a public key of sender, right? So this achieves authentications because the message has been encrypted using sender's private key. That means that other than the sender, no one knows the private key of A. Right? So by the way, it is claiming that when any data which has been encrypted using sender's private key, so that achieves authentications. Right? So with this topic, and again, when we talk about this Elgamal digital signature algorithm with the help of different parameters, right? And we'll be generating a two components, which is S1, S2, or you can use other name R and S. Now these two are the signature components, and this signature component has to be transferred to the receiver end. By receiving this information, right, and receiver will do the calculations, right, and then finally we will compare that whatever the value we has calculated, and that is going to be compared with this R or S1. If both the values are matches, then authentication is confirmed. Otherwise, they will assume that the message or the data which has been transmitted from the unauthorized users, right. Any doubt regarding the concepts of authentication, digital signature? So with this topic, we are coming to the end of our unit 2 or module 2. Under the module 2, we discuss about different topics. Start from the block cipher encryption technique, and then we discussed about data encryption standard. Then we studied about advanced encryption standard. Then we studied about public key cryptography. Then we studied about RSA algorithm. Then we studied about Diffie-Hellman. Key exchange algorithm. Then we discussed about digital signature. Which is Elgamal. RSA algorithm also one type of digital signature algorithm, because that there is another category where the data can be encrypted using sender's private key. So by the way, digital signature algorithm, which includes RSA algorithm as well as Elgamal signature, digital signature algorithm. Apart from this topic, we discussed about uh, distribution of public keys. So these were the topics. Then before the DES, I discussed about PSL cipher encryption technique, PSL cipher structure, PSL cipher model. So these are the topics we covered under the module 2. So if you have any queries regarding these topics, which I wrote here in the slide, and you can write in the chat box or you can unmute and just say the topic. If any further explanation required, I'm ready to explain it again. Also, I've given the problems based on RS algorithm, which is already I've posted through the announcement section of the Moodle. RSA algorithms based problems as well as Diffie element key exchange based problem. See, one thing you just keep in your mind that out of these two topics, RSA or Diffie element key exchange algorithm, out of these two topics for your final examination, I'm sure that definitely you will get one big question, which is a numerical, maybe for 10 marks or 16 marks. I can assure that from these two topics, you will get at least one question which may be asked for 10 marks or 16 marks, depends. Right? For that, you need to solve a lot of problems. Already, I prepared a set of problems I've shared with you in terms of assignments from the Moodle account, right? And you are all informed to solve those problems and upload the answers. Also, if you are facing any problem or any difficulties to understand the problem, right? I am ready to solve the problem parallelly required, and I'll conduct a separate session for the problem solving of Diffie element as well as RS algorithm. We'll work and we'll solve the problems, and you'll get practice. First of all, you try from your end, from yourself, and try to solve the problem. And if you find any difficulties, we are always there to help you out. Okay? Any queries regarding the topics? Topic which we covered in the we discussed in the unit 2. You can write in the chat box yes or no, whether are you clear with the contents, you want further explanations. I'm waiting for your replies. Okay, thank you, Alia. What about others? Okay, if you are clear with these contents which I have refreshed, so that we'll move to the chapter number 3. So far we discussed about two modules, unit 1 and unit 2, right? That is completely based on the first one is under that we discussed about security codes. Then we discussed about classical encryption techniques. Then we discussed about under this we discussed about substitution as well as transposition techniques. Then we discussed about the steganography concepts. Then we studied about the basics terms related to cryptography and system security. Right? In the second chapter, we discussed about the block cipher encryption technique that we discussed just now. Right? Next, we are going to start with the unit 3. Under this chapter, we will be discussing about the modules which are related to the hash functions. So these are the tentative contents under the module we'll be covering, right? The first, which is authentication requirements, and then so this chapter in which we are going to completely study about the different hash functions as well as a digital signature, right? And the detailed syllabus are the authentication requirements, authentication functions, MAC, which is message authentication code, hash function, security of hash function, again MAC, and then MD5, SHA, HMAC, and CMAC. Out of that, MAC stands for message authentication code. And this MD5 stands for message digest. MD stands for message, and SHA, which stands for secure hash algorithm, and HMAC, hash message authentication code. And CMAC, cryptographic message authentication code. Right? For time being, you just listen the word, right? And later we'll completely discuss about each and every topics in detail, and then we'll understand how these different techniques which are helps to provide an authentications. First, we'll start with the message authentications and hash functions. So, under this topic, we'll be discussing about authentication requirements and authentication functions, right? Why we need to have this authentication, what are the requirements of authentications, and how this authentication function works, and then we'll discuss about message authentication codes and then security of hash function, and all other detailed contents we'll discuss one after another. So first, when we talk about the requirements of authentications, anything, when we talk about this authentication is something that it need to prove that whether the message is coming from the authenticated users or the original users, right? So this authentication which try to provide or which try to protect from the certain attacks, whatever we studied so far. The first one is that disclosure. Disclosure means, right, suppose if the secret information, whenever you are transmitting this secret information, the security of the information, if it is compromised, so that is a disclosure, right? So which may be, you may assume it is eavesdrop, right? Intentionally or unintentionally, right? The attacker will try to catch the information which are being transmitted on the network. That is the disclosure. The second one is the traffic analysis. So this we studied under the security attacks, under the topic of security attacks. Under that we studied about the passive attacks and then active attacks. Under the passive attack we studied about this eavesdropping as well as traffic analysis. After this, what is meant by this traffic analysis? Traffic analysis is something that the attacker he will be completely monitoring that the data transmission related information, the duration of the transmission, the size of the data, right? And then so based on those information, right, the attacker will guess what kind of message which is being transmitted on the network. So that is called a traffic analysis. Other than that, when we talk about the active attacks which are related to the masquerade or fabrication, I could say that. When we talk about the fabrication or masquerade, right? So if there are two users in communication, A and B, let's say assume C is the attacker and he will create or he will fabricate a new message and he will send to the receiver B. But receiver B, by receiving the message, receiver B he may think that the message is coming from the authenticated user A, but that is not actually the case. In between, C is an unauthorized user or an attacker and is sending the message which seems like it is coming from user A. User A is an authenticated user, user C is an attacker. So this type of changes or data transmission which we are calling as masquerade and then fabrication. And next quantum modification, this is completely depends on the whatever the information which are being transmitted. It may be addition of the message or deletion or maybe any other changes. So all these categories which are belongs to the active attack, when we talk about the content modification during the data transmission, say for example, if this is the message which is being conveyed between the two users, attacker will capture this information and he will make changes on the data which is transmitted. Instead of good morning, and he will change the word good to bad. So this is a modification. You do modify or you may delete, you may add some extra content on the actual information and then that may be transmitted to the receiver. That is content modification. And then the sequence modification which is replay. So when we talk about replay or delay in transmission, if this is the message which is transmitted through the network, attacker will block the entire message. He will capture the package and he will suspend the operation for a particular time duration. Right? He may delay the message. Say for example, there are certain kind of information like OTPs. That those informations are very time bounded informations, right? Which may not be valid for 10 minutes. Suppose let's assume that if the attacker is capturing or blocking those informations, you will not be able to do any transactions because your entire transaction will be succeeded after entering the right OTP. The OTP information or time bounded information, or maybe it may be the session or the validity of the information is very limited, right? And if this kind of attacks replay or maybe that changing the sequence of the packets, right? So all these things, right, which may be intentionally done in order to do or in order to suspend certain activities, that is replay or maybe delaying the message or transmitting the message again and again and modifying the sequence of the data packet so that user will spend or the receiver will spend more time on arranging the data in the sequence. Otherwise, out of 10 packets, and user may block only some parts, some blocks, maybe some 2 to 3 packets or 2 to 3 blocks. So that even if the receiver receives 7 packets and the data will not be valid because in between there are some packets of data are missing, right? So that will not provide a complete information or meaning. Very similarly, this timing informations timing modifications, right, which as I mentioned, which is related to the OTP informations and repudiations. When we talk about this repudiations, if there are two users in the communication, out of that the communication should be a non-repudiation. When you talk about non-repudiation, if there are two users in a network or they are in the communication A and B, after sending a message, A sending a message to B, after sending a message, user A should not deny that I did not send a message like that. Similarly, after receiving the message by the receiver B, and you should not deny that I did not receive the message. So both the things, right, in any communication, there should be any proof that whether the user has transmitted the message as well as the receiver B has received the message. So that is called non-repudiations. Non-repudiation as source or sender side or destination or receiver side. Any doubts? Kindly let me know if you have any topic which I am explaining. Any queries? So far, I was explaining about the different attacks or possibility of different attacks can takes place whenever, if any, data which are going to be transmitted on the network. Now, next we'll discuss about the measures, how these kind of attacks can be protected or which can be avoided, right? So the first two attacks, right? So that can be carried out or that can be protected by means of encryption, right? Even if the attacker gets the information, if you are applying the proper encryption technique, right? So that will completely avoid, even if the attacker get the information, disclosure of the actual information, and the information might be in the ciphertext format once if you applied an encryption technique. And you all knowing about what is in encryption. Encryption is the process through which our actual information, that is plain text, which is going to be converted into unintelligible text, that is a ciphertext. The ciphertext is going to be transmitted through the network. Once if you are applying the encryption function, first two attacks can be avoided, right? Again, in order to protect from the the attacks from 3 to 6, right, from all type of the active attacks, we may need to identify or we may need to incorporate on message authentications, right, where so we will be assume that the message is coming from an authenticated users, right? For that we may use for hash function or we may use for any digital signature. Sorry, digital signature is only for an authentications, right? Here the hash function which includes MD5 as well as SH algorithm. Again, this non-repudiation again, so this can be avoided, right? This repudiation can be avoided by implying this digital signatures. Actually, digital signature is also part of an authentication. There is no wrong even if you are writing digital signature or an authentication here. Digital signature is achieved by means of authentication only, right? I hope this is clear. Any queries regarding the content which I have explained so far? Authentication requirements. Okay. So if there are no more queries, then I will move to the further slide. So next, I'll be explaining about message authentications, right? So here, message authentication is a procedure to verify that the message comes from the alleged source and have not been altered. Now, have you heard about the word integrity? We studied about this in CIA triangle: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What is this integrity stands for? Integrity, which means anyone can unmute and say the answer quickly. I'm not looking at the chat box. You can unmute and say the answer. See here, the authentication is something that, right? If it is a user authentication, we need to prove that whether the user is an authenticated user to send a message. When we talk about the message authentication, here we are going to verify or ensure the authentication of the message. Whether the message which has been transmitted from the actual sender, that is the alleged source, right? Or maybe the legal source, or legal user, I could say. And we are very much sure about that. Even if the data has been transmitted from an authenticated users, during the transmission, the data should not have been altered. So that is called an integrity. When we talk about an integrity is the process in which whatever the data which has transmitted by the sender, that has to be delivered to the receiver without any modification, 100% as it is. No delay, no modifications, no suspension, no data loss, right? Nothing. Whatever the data which is sent, good morning, the same data which has to be delivered to the receiver as it is without any changes, right? So that word or that process we are calling as integrity. Right? So apart from that, the message authentication may also verify the sequencing and the timeliness, right? Whether the packet has been delivered on in the sequence order or whether the packet are delivered in the time bounded delivery, right? Similarly, the next component comes into the authentication will be a digital signature. It is a one type of an authentication technique that also includes measures to counter repudiations. I was explaining about this repudiations. What is meant by this repudiation? If there are two users in a network, after doing certain actions, both the user, sender and receiver, they should not deny what they have done. A is sending a message to B. After sending the message, A should not deny that I did not send any message to B. Right? Similarly, if B is received the message and B should not deny that I did not receive any message from A. Right? So have you heard about the registered post? When we send a registered post, how the sender will ensure that whether the letter or the post has been delivered to the receiver, correspondent receiver. Along with the registered post, you will have the small acknowledgement card. While receiving this letter, receiver will sign on the acknowledgement card, and this acknowledgement card will be sent back to the sender. Receiver will receive this, I mean, sender will receive the acknowledgement. After that, you will verify the signature, whether the letter has been delivered to the corresponding person or not. By receiving this acknowledgement, and the sender will assume that the registered post letter which has been delivered to the corresponding receiver successfully. So by the way, here the digital signature which are going to make sure that. So here I was explaining this scenario for repudiations. So this is one technique through which after receiving this letter in the previous example, after receiving this letter and after some time he should not be able to deny that I did not receive any letter, because already he received the letter, he signed in the acknowledgement that has been delivered to the sender also, right? So this is one technique through which an repudiation can be avoided. Similarly, if any data during the data transmission, if it has been signed, digitally signed by the sender, that means that and sender may not claim that I did not send a message to you, because the data which consists of sender signature. That means that shows that the message has been transmitted by the person who has signed digitally, right? So very similarly, by receiving this information, he will also receiver information will also be stored, so that he cannot again he may not be able to do the repudiation, right? So this digital signature will be a solution through which this repudiation can be avoided by the source as well as destination end. Any queries? Any doubts so far? Next, we'll be discussing about some of the related with the previous things, which is authentication functions, right? When we talk about message authentication or digital signature mechanisms, can be viewed having a two levels. The first, there are a small variation which is a lower as well as higher value, which is a lower level. There must be some sort of function producing an authenticator. So here we might be using a different functions or methods through which we'll try to identify or we'll try to make one person as an authenticator, right? And a value to be used to authenticate a message. So here this could be any code or any a piece of information which we'll be using to check the to verify an authenticity, right? So here, when we talk about this authentication function, which having the two levels, one is lower level as well as higher level, right? When we talk about the lower level, there must be some functions, some sort of function. So whether whatever the function which we use, hash function or MD5 function, as well as MAC, message authentication code, all these code will use some mathematical function that will detailedly study in the upcoming sessions. We have a separate content for that, and so out of that, the function which will be producing an authenticator, and whatever the value which we are going to produce based on this hash function, the message authentication code, that code which are going to be used and authenticate the message, whether the message has been transmitted by the actual users, as well as we check the integrity, whether the message has been delivered to the particular receiver without any modifications. So I was explaining about the three functions. In the previous slide I explained the different hash functions are different authentication functions, which include message encryption. We all already we studied about different encryption technique, right? Transposition as well as substitution encryption technique, advanced encryption standard, and then data encryption standard, right? And RS algorithm, right? All these algorithms which are used for an encryption. Very similarly, this message encryption, which is going to act as an authenticator, because in order to so here there is a process through which we are changing our actual information into some other information without the knowledge of that information, or without the authenticated users information, the data cannot be returned back, So in order to do the decryption, we may need a key. The key will be known only by an authenticated users. By the way, message encryption is one of the function authentication function through which the authentication can be achieved. Again, the second one is the message authentication code. When we talk about message authentication code, a public function of the message and the secret key. So here we'll have some message along with the key, right? That produce a fixed length value that serves as the authenticator. At the end of this operation, and this will produce a code. That code which we are going to consider as a message authentication code. So this data, this message authentication, which is going to act as a authenticator, message authenticator, right? How this information, again based on the information which has been received at the receiver end, you will have this actual information and you will be knowing about the key, and you will apply the same function at the receiver end, and you will produce the message authentication code again. Whatever the message authentication code calculated by the receiver, that is going to be compared with the message authentication code received from the sender. If the both the values are equal, then you will assume that the message is coming from an authenticated users. And the third one is that it's a hash function. When we talk about hash function, the definition for the hash function, a public function that maps a message of any length into a fixed length hash value, which serves as an authenticator. So here, when you talk about an authenticator, I mean hash function, so this it can be any function, right? And which will accept any length of input, and then from that it will perform some calculation or operations, then it will produce a fixed size value which can be called as the hash code or message digest. Any doubt so far? I hope all of you wrote your attendance in the chat box. I'll be continuing the session. Once if the session ends, you can join the meeting in up to 5 minutes. Any doubt so far? So click and write in the chat box if you have any queries. Otherwise, you can just note the queries and you can write in the next session. Accordingly, I'll be happy to answer. Any queries? And see.